Chris Cote needs no introduction, in my opinion, for our listeners. And even if some of you don't know him yet, you will recognize his voice in a minute. So, Chris, please introduce yourself and thanks for hosting us in your place.
Of course. You're welcome, guys. Hi, I'm Chris Cote.
Yeah.
You might know me from talking about surfing, skateboarding, snowboarding, and other stuff on the internet and television. I'm here in Encinitas, California. You guys are welcome here to Monday Mass HQ podcast. Homie.
Amazing.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for coming.
Thanks
just for the record to start, Italy is one of my favorite places in the world.
Let's go.
The best surf trip I've ever been on in my life was to Italy. So
no way.
It's true. Drive through Europe.
Really?
Yeah, we got
waves in Italy.
We got fun waves. Verace. Hung out at the surf shop there. Kelly Slater somehow on a 2-foot day got barreled and shot the pier.
Yeah, in Forte dei Marmi.
Yes.
Do you know his hometown?
That's your hometown?
Yeah.
It's the best. Love that place.
Crazy.
Yeah, that was like, I got chills thinking about it. It's like one of my best memories ever.
Wow. Amazing.
Best trip. Rome on the scooters, just the vibe, the food, everything. And, I've been back a few times since then, but I'm dying to go back. I'll come back with you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Just bring me with you.
We have to like, what is that? The clip. The clip. Yeah. This is legendary in Italy, yeah? Everybody knows that clip.
Yeah, I shot this, by the way.
No way.
I shot this video. So I want my residuals. I love this. This part was the best. Just the kids and all the people freaking out.
Yeah.
There was no waves this day. It was
knee
high.
We know that's average Italy.
Knee high, and of course, what does the goat do?
Amazing.
The goat gets tubed.
But why you were there? Like it was something planned or just hanging around with some friends?
So I got invited on the Drive Through Europe.
Yeah.
Video for that series, and we started in France, Spain, little Portugal, and I think we ended in Italy. So basically we just drove an RV, Benji Weatherly, Slater, Greg Browning, Rye Crake, believe Rizal, I think was there, myself, Matt Bouchane filming.
Was an hell of a trip.
It was just like, I think we were in Italy for 4 or 5 days, maybe. Okay. But just straight from the top, like got fun waves. Yeah,
and Rome,
and everybody was so cool.
Yeah, I know.
And the day in Rome was just like, we're all in matching jumpsuits. Everyone had a scooter, and we were just all day long doing circles around, the greatest historical city in the world. And so it's just like
it's stuck in your mind. Yeah,
it's the best trip I've ever been on.
Amazing.
Best surf trip.
And let's go back to the past. And I would like to ask you, what was your first love, if it was surfing or skating?
I think my first love kind of started around the same time, around here, Encinitas, San Diego, or whatever. Growing up by the beach, you kind of just gravitated towards it. And this was the early 80s. And so, skateboarding was just in such a fun place. And, I started on a boogie board, and then my brother gave me his surfboard one day on a real small day. I always kind of been like afraid of the waves in the ocean, but
sometimes
my brother let me ride his board, and I did a turn, like a little cutback. And that was it. And so I've always I'd say shared first love, because when we first started skating, we would pretend we were surfing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Surfing the asphalt.
So we would pretend we were surfing, and I always hang out with skaters and surfers.
Okay.
And back then it was pretty separate.
Okay.
It wasn't like it is today, where it's kind of like everybody's mingling. But I think in high school it really started it. We all started hanging out together.
Okay.
And skaters weren't necessarily surfing and vice versa. So it was like just a handful of us that were really equally into both things.
Yeah, different cultures.
Yeah, but we all hung out, and music was a huge part of it, so it all kind of blended together.
So cool. Yeah, nice. And you, Chris, are a proud Californian and mostly a proud citizen of Encinitas
That's
because I
right.
know that you really love your place and it's amazing. Unfortunately, today it's
Yeah, you
raining,
guys
but it's
came at an
nice.
interesting time. Looks
but
like
but
Seattle out there.
we have been unlucky, and you at the same time have traveled all around the world. And for us, Italian surfers too, California looks like a paradise.
Yeah.
So I would like to know if you are having traveled all around the world are still loving this place and would say, okay, this is the place where I want to live all my life and I would never change it with anything else.
Yeah. I mean, I literally grew up 2 blocks from this office.
Okay.
3 blocks is the beach that I learned how to surf. I live across the street from my mom, my brother. We all live in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I realize how much I love it when I'm coming home from trips or when I'm in Fiji and it's like I'm on Tavarua, the waves are firing. I get a message or a call from somebody at home saying, "Oh wow, like the spot's good," and I'm going. I remember being in Fiji one time and literally surfed restaurants head high for 5 hours, and I'm sitting there eating dinner, and somebody tells me they're like, "Hey, it's the waves are super good in Encinitas right now," and I got bummed, and somebody's going, what are you talking about?" I go, "Well, you don't get it. You don't understand." But it really there is no place like home, and I think fortunately for me to call this place my home is it's just a huge blessing. I mean, I have so much gratitude for it wasn't my choice, right, to be
Yeah.
born here, to live here, but thankfully, you know, growing up here, especially in that era, late '80s going into the '90s, there was just so much freedom and so much stoke, for lack of a better term. Everywhere you went, it was just like surfing,
Yeah.
skateboarding, riding your bikes around, and kind of going back to flying into San Diego from wherever I'm at, and I fortunate enough to go to amazing places, Japan, Tahiti,
Yeah.
Fiji, Italy, places that I truly love. But when you're flying into San Diego, I get this feeling, your heart starts to warm up a little bit. You come through the buildings, you land, and then when you grab your bags, the door opens, and on 340 days of the year, it's the perfect temperature, the sun's out, and that first wave kind of hits you like, "Oh, I'm home."
Yeah.
You get in your car from the airport to my house, 35 minutes. And it's almost like every freeway exit that I get closer, I start to get that feeling.
Yeah.
And then just being able to come home to this neighborhood and where I'm at, like, it's interesting that coming back from trips that are most of the time joyful and fun, that
Yeah.
I get that equal feeling when I get home.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. I know this feeling because sometimes I reflected on this topic and I came to the conclusion that, in my opinion, I like to travel because I have to go back home then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When I do a trip and it's amazing, 2 weeks, and it's almost the time to leave, I've never like, oh no, I would be more time there. No, it's fine. Okay, let's go back
Yeah.
home because I'm happy to go back home because it's good the feeling of traveling when you have a place where you want to come back to return.
Absolutely.
So that's yeah, I understand what you're saying. And now let's get into the commentator thing because it's really interesting for us. And first, I would like to ask you if you have ever think about the fact that surfing could be a boring sport, professional surfing, because it's
Yeah.
way long and like 95% of the time it's waiting.
Yeah.
So it's an hard job to comment surfing. But mostly we have another problem. The generation coming up, it's used to consume contents that are like
Wait,
7,
yeah.
8 seconds.
Yeah.
So how do we can engage newcomers and new generation to watch surfing and consume surfing?
Yeah. I fully agree with you. I feel like there's not a lot of sports in the world. I mean, maybe you have cricket and golf
Yeah.
that are 4 to 6 days, all day long,
Yeah.
and real steady moments with high highs and, you know, those kind of lows that happen throughout the days. So I think that's why there's only a handful of, you know, surf commentators that thrive and can do it, because, you know, it's not easy to talk for 9 hours straight on the day and keep things interesting. But, you know, I think trying to engage the core audience and then also invite newcomers, accidental tourists that maybe just popped it on, they want to see what surfing's all about, is a unique challenge. You know, for me, I really try, you know, I try not to repeat myself. I try to have as much fun as possible, you know, without being too wild or zany, you know, like music references and, you know, stuff like that, to just kind of keep it light, keep things flowing. And then I think it's pretty obvious when big moments happen, you know, my excitement is real, my passion for it, my love of what I'm seeing. And that, you know, I think that translates through when I do skateboarding and snowboarding and parkour events to a certain extent, is that, you know, I'm always there to learn. I'm always there to soak it in, whatever's happening. And I think the storytelling element about surf events is a pretty cool and unique thing, because, you know, you literally have 30 to 45 minutes.
Exactly.
Generally speaking, there's going to be 1 or 2, maybe 3 women in the water. And so you have time to develop these stories. And it's usually when you start to tell a story about somebody, they catch a wave and you have to go back.
That's why.
So, you know, it's such a fun job. It's challenging. And, you know, what I love when you sit there and you talk for 9 hours, right?
Yeah.
And somebody on the internet goes, look at this idiot, he said this. And then I remember, I go, oh, wow, that was 6 hours into the day. This person was listening closely. So that's kind of, you know, like the reward and all that. I mean, I would be sitting there watching the contest, talking about it with my friends anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful to be able to, you know, be on the air, be on screen talking about it, because I love it. I love it just as much as I did when I was a kid. And I get off on, you know, welcoming people in, trying to get them excited, trying to inspire them.
Yeah, that's true, because hardcore surfers can be assholes.
Oh,
we get
really on the
because we have to sometimes. So we need to like please them, and at the same time trying to get more people to be in the community, not get in. So it's such an hard balance to find, and sometimes I feel we need to be a little bit more inclusive in surfing.
For sure. And, you know, we got to remember that it's for fun.
Yeah.
Whether you're doing it yourself, whether you're watching a surf event, you know, our job as an audience or as enthusiasts is to watch, to enjoy, and to talk about it. And, you know, it's just like any other sport. You're going to be, you know, if you're into it, you're going to be passionate, and you're going to go, what? There's no way Gabriel lost that heat. You know, there's no way. Like, that was a 10.
Yeah.
And I think that the majority of the voices and things that you hear in the comment boards and the message boards and all that, it's much easier to complain, to whinge a little bit without providing constructive criticism.
Yeah.
That's what I always say. I'm like, people can talk crap all day. I don't care. That's fine. It doesn't bother me. But I like it if somebody says, this sucks.
Yeah.
Here's why.
Yeah.
How, you know, maybe there's an idea. Here's how we can fix it. And so, you know, like, for all the talk of, you know, like, oh, competitive surfing's broken, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I still love it. I still watch it. And of course it can get better. Of course
how it can get better.
You know, I feel like
that's wise, huh?
I mean, I'm accused often of just being like blindly loyal to the WSL and to the people that I'm working for and working with.
Okay.
And to a certain extent, I am, because I support it. You know, it's like nobody else is doing it. And to me, I feel like they're all the companies that I work with and the broadcast partners, they're putting together they're great shows. You know, for me, I feel like just like more pageantry, more of an actual show. I think of sports like, what would be a good example? Like NFL, for example, like the replays and the graphics and all this stuff. We don't have those kind of budgets in surfing. But I think the subtle changes that they're doing and the fact that they're actually trying to make things different, like the mid-year cut was loved and hated, or I don't know who loves it, but it doesn't bother me. I think it's kind of cool to have that playoff thing. But the fact that people are talking about it, ranting about it, for better or for worse, I think that for the WSL and for other events that are trying new things, I think that has to be done, whether it works or not. At least there's thought going into it. There's effort being put into trying to switch things up to maybe make it a more cohesive package for viewers. I feel like packaging this stuff for television is always going to be difficult. Like the Olympics is a great example of, you've got 150 sports, right?
Many screens, like
tons of screens and
things happening.
Every sport is this is at 1 p.m. on Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's an hour. That's the running race, right?
It's the only thing you can do with the wave pools.
Yeah, and for surfing, it's like a lot of people watching are not going to understand. Like, wait, you have to wait?
Yeah,
you have to wait for waves? Like, just go.
A lot of people asking that because they don't know.
And so, I think we have the championship tour, the Challenger Series. I feel like the Challenger Series right now is super engaging and super cool. That's like, there's real emotion happening. There's high stakes. There's people living their dream.
And veterans trying to
exactly.
Back, so
you have a different kind of dichotomy of what's at stake and what's happening in those events. And I love watching the Challenger Series. It's definitely like, production wise, obviously it's a little bit lower than Championship Tour, but what you get more of is emotion. And
stories,
a lot of different types of surfing and styles of surfing. So
and sometimes they also get better waves than on the sea. Happen.
I'm the last person to complain and rant about surfing events because I enjoy them, I love them. And again, could they be better? Of course, in a lot of different ways. But I feel like that stuff is happening, and it's like, it's a lot harder to come up with an idea and put it in action when you have this giant machine rolling. So, I think throughout the year, we're going to find out. I think if the waves are great, no one's complaining. If the waves are bad, everyone's complaining. That's the one thing.
At the end of the day, that's the only thing people matters.
If the waves are pumping, nobody cares what's going on. They're just hyped to be watching.
In fact, I agree with you. And what has been the sketchiest situation you have lived as a WSL or ISA commentator?
Wow.
Because you went to crazy places.
Well, the first time I went to an event in Brazil, everyone was telling me, they're like, dude, it's gnarly. You got to be on your toes. It can be sketchy. And it was the exact opposite. Everyone was so cool. I never felt like I was in a dangerous situation. Saquarema, Rio, Sao Paulo, all the surrounding areas that I've been to for surfing or skateboarding have been incredible experiences every single time. I've been there maybe 20 times now, and every time, it's different than Encinitas. You've got to be a little bit more aware. You're not walking around like, hey, where am I going? So, like in that sense, everything's been cool. I've been in a couple situations, more just on like surf trips or commercial shoots. One situation in particular, I was on a shoot for a television manufacturer. And we were in the Maldives and we were shooting a commercial. I was with Chippa Wilson and Damian Hobgood. And the idea was to light up the reef from underneath at night.
No way.
And ride these like lit up boards.
Yeah,
With
that like
yeah.
Okay.
And this was a long time ago when that, we didn't have the Action Glow. Easy, like those guys make like a really cool LED that's very easy to put on. Back then we had to get boards made. So basically it was in the middle of the night in a gnarly thunder and lightning storm. The seas were like this. We had a giant boat linked with cables to a generator boat, a barge.
No way.
And then from there linked to these lights. And basically like we were on surfboards holding these lights, and I thought everybody was going to die. And this is a Hollywood production, and so Hollywood producers are a bit different. They're like, we're doing it. We're going. Yeah.
No way.
They didn't really,
because they were that like so focused and they want to like close this thing.
At one point I just had to tell them, it's like, look, like I'm bringing these dudes in from the water. No one's going to die for a television commercial.
Okay.
And no one did. But it was just one of those, like, I wish I had filmed more so I could explain what was going on. But, that was just one example of
crazy experience.
Yeah. And then the other stuff is more just like being out late when I used to party and getting myself into my own situations. Nothing related to anything in surfing, but being in, like being on the North Shore back in the day, out at night, late was always an adventure.
Yeah.
Nothing good happens after midnight, especially on the North Shore.
Okay.
In the late 90s.
Worse than in Brazil?
I mean, well, the times I didn't go to Brazil when I was like in my full blown party vibe. So I'm sure if I did, I could have got myself in a lot of trouble down there. Yeah.
Rockstar life back in the past.
Exactly.
Okay. I see. And now, Chris, if you agree, I would like to talk about the relationship you, I guess you have with a lot of great surfers and competitors.
Yeah.
So my questions are, who is the funniest?
The funniest pro surfer?
Yeah.
I mean, Donovan Frankenreiter, Benji Weatherly, these dudes are obviously super funny, I think one of the driest wits and kind of an underrated, super funny guy was Bruce Irons, or is Bruce Irons.
Okay.
He's not going to do it on camera, but when you're
on camera, is just
on camera, he's like this. But I mean, some of his like, mostly like giving you crap.
Okay.
And I've been on enough trips with him, where his shit talking is just at a different level, and. When it's not on you, it's hilarious. When it's on you, it's like, oh yeah. So yeah, I say underrated, funniest dude, Bruce Irons.
Okay, Bruce Irons, fine. And who is the most friendly guy or girl?
The most friendly guy or girl. I mean, there's the obvious ones like the Ace Buckins and just B Durbridge, the people that are just smiling and always super friendly. Jeez, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
When I watch wow,
maybe somebody that is not that from the outside you cannot see,
right?
He or she is friendly. Like a lot of time, I get the feeling that with Brazilians, now the narrative is changing a bit, because of the make or break series with Gabriel. And then also because of Felipe finally winning 4 titles and living out there, probably.
I have here's an example. So Gabriel Medina, my first impressions of him for a couple years was that, like most people, he was just like a competitive guy, kind of a dick, just doing his own thing. Spent some time with him on a couple trips at a couple of events. And I remember he won an event and we were at the airport and he was shopping for jewelry. And I was like, of course, it's like buying jewelry.
Because he won.
Yeah. And so I kind of go over and I'm just asking him like, oh, what are you going to buy? And he said, oh, I'm getting my little sister a necklace. And I was like,
Okay.
oh my gosh, that's like, I'm thinking this guy's being like, oh, I'm going to get some gold.
Okay.
And he's buying his sister a
Right.
gift.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
you know, it's just like little things like that humanize these guys.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah,
To tell these stories. in my opinion.
totally. And, you know, just like, I think watching when you're like top pros that are oftentimes have to be guarded for fans and everything coming on. When you see them behind the scenes, when you see them one-on-one with fans and stuff, it's like you kind of get a different perspective on it. And you know, it's like working at a surf magazine, being an announcer. I think there's almost an obligation for the surfers to be nice to me. So I might have a skewed view of it because most everybody has been
Could be,
super
but
friendly and
sometimes
cool.
maybe you are in intimate situation where they don't see you, and you are maybe somebody that is good at looking at people, understanding them, and you can see some stuff that gets you the feeling of, okay, he's not like I thought. So
I mean, I've had like really cool, special little moments with so many pros that I, you know, like that I even if I'm older than or whatever, that I look up to. I'm like, you know, this person's rad. And I don't know, it's fun to see the interactions, the fan interactions, because there's a lot of times that somebody loses, they're pissed, and then, you know, like a fan comes up and says something and it just makes me smile.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like I'm like Mr. Positivity, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm always looking for the good in people. You know, more often than not, I find it.
And what's your opinion on Leo Fioravanti, by the way?
Leo's sick. Leo, you know, I think Leo, he definitely is among the best of the best, just in terms of being real and showing his emotion. When Leo's in a great mood, he's the happiest, nicest dude ever. If there's something that he doesn't agree with or something that he feels, you know, against or whatever, I like that Leo's going to say what he wants to say. You know, whether it's about like Apple Watch,
I remember that thing,
or you know, like you know, just moments like that where good on you, you know, because it's not easy to like bite the hand that feeds you in a way.
Yeah.
But I think how he presents himself and how he, you know, deals with the challenges that he's dealt with, and you know, obviously one of the most handsome guys on tour. I know his girl; she's amazing. You know, he gets free clothes from Gucci and stuff, and you know, he's got a great life.
That's true.
And I think he, you know, you can see that he like appreciates all those things, but I respect that he is not afraid to speak his truth. And, you know, I think he's been underrated for a long time of how good he surfs. And I think that it was, you know, for him to get success and to achieve, it took a lot of work, even though he's so naturally talented and naturally gifted. And another one of those guys that we've known him since he was 12.
Yeah.
And how old is he now? It's like
now it's Leo. It's 26, going
26. Yeah. So he's still in his prime. He still has so much to give to all of us. So I mean, I always cheer for him. I'm a fan of style, good, clean style and power.
Yeah. It's a power.
And he's got that in so much. And, you know, I think he's underrated, not just where he sits on the championship tour, but just in what he can do in video parts and all that stuff. I'd love to see just more Leo free surfing, airs, the whole deal. He's so good. He's so fun to watch.
I agree. I completely agree. Let's finish the game with the most shy.
Most shy.
Yeah. Is there anyone that doesn't want to?
Katie Simmers. Katie Simmers is, and I will put Katie Simmers in the category of funniest as well.
Really? So it's both shy and funny.
Yeah. You get her in a post-seat interview, and I've interviewed her a few times, and she gets this look on her face where you don't know if she is actually like not wanting to be there or giving you shit. Like she's got this dry sense of humor, and you know, I think she's brilliant, because now that I realize in watching her do the interviews, like she acts like she doesn't know what to say, but she knows exactly what to
Okay.
say.
Okay.
So I'm going to put her in the most shy
But
because I don't think she loves having the camera in her
Okay.
face, but I'm also going to put her in the funniest because when she does get the camera in her face, she's hilarious.
fine. And the most humble?
Ooh, most humble. I mean, geez, most humble. I'm trying to figure out a pro surfer that's humble.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
You answered perfect.
Yeah, that's a
Thanks,
good one.
Chris.
Yeah, I think that job requires some
Ego.
ego and
Yeah.
bravado,
Okay, okay.
you know, and I
So
think
I
you
will
know,
not
yeah,
ask you who is the most arrogant because
most arrogant. I mean,
all of them.
everybody at times. Yeah,
Okay.
even myself.
Cool, because you have to face them. So
Yeah, yeah,
if not, is not like an even match.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
cool. And who will be the next new world champ?
New world champ.
Yeah, not one
Um,
of the guys that won recently.
Okay, new world champ is, I would say, well, Katie Simmers. I think
Okay.
2024 world champion, potential Olympic medalists.
Oh wow, huge
And
statement.
yeah, I think for the men, I mean, everybody like the big five have already won. Gabriel, Italo, you know, Felipe, John. I would love to see Slater get 12. He's not new. He's been around for a minute.
Just a minute.
Yeah. You know, I think Ethan Ewing would be an awesome new champion. And he's the shyest as well.
Okay.
He's definitely the shyest.
Okay.
So if you want to go back, Ethan Ewing is the shyest.
Okay.
But I think he, you know, I think it would be a win for purists and for just straight up surfers.
Yeah.
You know, people that love clean style, power, you know, like he just does everything right when he's on waves. And the fact that he's like, stays out of it, like he's not out there.
Not playing the social media game anymore,
just,
like be the best ambassador ever.
Yeah. And I think,
surfing.
it's like, to me, I think if he won the title, I don't think anybody in the world would complain.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, it's true. I agree. And then what I was thinking before having this chat is that obviously social media changed the world, but in some way social media changed also surfing.
Yeah.
And in your opinion, how much of the like the evolution surfing has had recently with a lot of people getting into social media just to showing their surfing, pretending to surf, not here because here the culture is so strong, but in other places like Italy, like Europe, or I don't know, Middle East or places, whatever, you know, now we have the pool in Abu Dhabi. So I believe we will see more and more. So how much social media has affected surfing? And in your opinion, I'm not a fan of judging things moving on. But was it better before, or you like the environment we have now?
You know, I feel like with social media has replaced magazines, you know, surfing television shows, even a lot of full-length videos and stuff like that you had to go to the theater to see the premiere and everything. So, you know, I feel like it's definitely helped create a space for non-competitive surfers, right? We've got the championship tour, we've got the, you know, the WSL, the ISA, we've got these organizations that are going to be broadcasting and spotlighting the best of the best competitive surfers. In the past, we had magazines to look at for the free surfers, you know, the guys that did not do contests, but we still wanted to see them and we still wanted to watch them. So I feel like social media has taken over the magazine, right? And now you've got guys like, you know, Nathan Florence, you've got guys that are out there, guys and girls that are out there making their own content, making their own videos. And I think for a lot of intents and purposes, these surfers are more popular than surfers on tour.
Look at Jamie O'Brien.
Ben
his
Gravy.
YouTube channel is bigger than all of the others compared.
Yeah, and so they don't need the WSL.
Yeah,
they
are their own media.
Magazines.
Yeah.
They're their own media. And so I think it's done huge things for
Surfing.
surfers that are motivated and surfers that have a different kind of story to tell.
Okay.
And basically, the social media is where their marketing is, right? So they put that stuff out on social media, trying to get people to come to their YouTube page or to, engage that way. I think, Nathan Florence, who just won Stab Surfer of the Year, who I don't know if he was in any contests in 2023 or 2024, maybe an event or two in Hawaii, but it's pretty rad that, a guy that just basically does it himself has now become so beloved and one of the most popular surfers in the world without ever even winning a heat or putting on a jersey.
That's so interesting.
And he can create his own narrative. And I love that he just shares everything.
It's Lab Tour was a sick
it's
idea.
incredible. And that's
like, I don't know, it's a parallel thing because they already have WSL, and so you want to create a format that doesn't even exist because it's just you traveling around the world, uploading raw, long clips on YouTube with a million of views. So that's a sick experiment, and it worked.
Yeah, and this is something that's only been in the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah,
I mean, especially the last 2 or 3 years with the vlogging. You got Zeke, you got now I'm seeing a lot of. They're not necessarily ex-pros, but they're more just straight up YouTubers that are making more mainstream style content, like not tabloid-esque, but these 2 and 3 minute things like, let's look at the history of Mark Akalupa. Like I saw one last night. And whoever made it, it's cool editing and graphics, and it's it's stuff that I already know, but it's fun to watch.
Yeah, it's not maybe not for you, not meant for you.
Exactly.
For newcomers. That's what we were talking about.
And those are the 5 to 6 minute things that people can watch.
Possibly 1 out of 10 of them will watch a full WSL, what's the name? Tour stop.
Yeah.
So cool. And what would your advice to a kid growing up to dream about being a surfer? Going for the free surfing, like social media thing, or trying to be a competitor?
I just feel like trying everything, trying everything early on, because I know a lot of really great surfers that put on a jersey and just fall apart.
Yeah.
And that's, that can start at a very young age. So I feel like just being open to all the elements of surfing, and, it's tough now. Back when I was a kid, it was a very kind of like clear path, right?
Yeah.
Amateur events, QS events, for some championship tour. For a lot of us, it was like, try to get your photo in the magazine.
Mm-hmm.
You get sponsored or whatever, and you kind of do all that. And then if you weren't great enough or good enough to make it to the next level, you got yourself a job at a surf brand that maybe you rode for. Like, I'm the team manager, and then I'm the marketing guy. And so that's what I did. And that's what a lot of friends of mine did as well. Again, I know today it's like the path is much different. It's much more elusive.
And even competitive also on social media, because you can compete, I don't know, with us. We are from Italy, and maybe 20 years ago, any magazine from Italy would ever get the chance to talk with you and maybe to go viral in some way. So it's a hard job, I guess.
Yeah.
Both on the competitive and on the content creation.
Yeah. I just feel like, when I was growing up and trying to do the pro surfer thing, there was so much pressure that I put on myself. Like, my parents just supported me, and the sponsors
that's cool.
were cool, but it was more stuff I put on myself, like taking losses really hard, missing out on being in a magazine or whatever. Like, these are just things that would just eat away at me until I finally realized, I'm like, oh God, you're supposed to be having fun. And so luckily I was able to work at some of these companies, start Trans World, and that really kind of like opened tons of doors for me, which I try to take full advantage of as much as possible. So yeah, I kind of been rambling here on the advice, but my advice would just be have fun, surf with your friends, take turns filming each other. It's super fun to make edits, and like, who cares if anybody watches them?
Yeah.
And you're surfing with your homies and you're filming each other and you're giving each other crap and you're supporting each other. Like that's what it's all about. It doesn't matter if in skateboarding, surfing, whatever, it's like there's no rules. Go out and have fun. Ride a
Yeah.
board with no fins. Like do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Because the surfing is secondary to the fun having.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if you're out there doing the biggest airs. It doesn't matter if you don't know how to turn. As long as you're having fun, you're doing it right.
I think I've heard this one before.
Yeah.
But I completely agree.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that's a great piece of advice. Last one, Chris, because I know that then you have to do your own podcast.
The Monday Math
Exactly.
with Chris Cote and Todd Richards. Look for it where you get your podcasts.
Exactly. That's a good stuff. Yeah, it's correct. So before we started to record this interview, we were talking about the industry, surfing industry, or surfing industry. Unfortunately, huge brand, iconic brand are not doing great right now because also the profit margin on surf hardware, surfboards, it's really like very, very thin. They cannot get much money. Do you think they will find a way solution to come back stronger, or they have to evolve in something else?
Well, we were all just at an event this last weekend called Camp Shred, world's largest surf demo. And, on the first day of that, it was so fun to see hundreds of groms and dads and moms and men, women, and children trying out every different type of board, right? And I think events like that where people can grab and touch and be immersed in the culture, looking at the wetsuits, like all the new stuff.
Yeah,
I think events like that are important because it's one thing to see, like, oh, there's the new Slater Designs Kelly board. It's like on your phone, looks cool.
Yeah.
But when you can grab it and pick it up, that is hugely important, just to be able to have that tangible feel, and that gets people excited. I feel like back in the heyday, the prime of the surf industry, we knew where, when you worked in the industry, you knew where the Billabong office was. You knew where Volcom was. All your friends worked there, so you'd be able to go in to these buildings. They had the warehouse and, you would get free clothes. It was sweet. Nowadays, like, they're in high rise in a city, New York or something. Like, I don't know where they're at. But the cool thing is we're starting to see brands popping up, Florence X Machine, Former,
Rivia, what's the name?
Exactly, like Rourke. These brands that are smaller and able to kind of, I guess, change with the times. I had a great conversation with a guy named Vipe. He runs the Surf Industry Members Association.
Okay.
And so they kind of oversee what's happening in the surf industry. And basically he said, look, the products that these smaller brands are making are more specific. Yeah. And they're going to be
innovative,
better quality. Yeah. And you might pay a little bit more, but what you're paying for is a specific item that is going to make your experience better. Whether it's a Florence X
the one with the
hoodie, whether it's a Former t-shirt, and when you buy that shirt, that allows Dane Reynolds and Craig Anderson to go on a surf trip, make a video. It gets us excited and it gets us pumped. So I think supporting those smaller independent brands that fit your interests, that fit your style is super important because, that's, you go into the surf shop and you buy those things.
Yeah.
But I also think that, supporting brands like Quicksilver, Rip Curl, Billabong, the big ones, right? That's important too because they still have big surf teams. We want to support the surfers. We want to, you want to buy things that are going to allow them to pay for people like Leo, like Liam O'Brien, like all levels. We want to support the big brands that support them. And also they put on big events. They help, they're still, I feel like big surf brands have been slightly demonized in a way because they are big corporations and owned by bankers or whatever. But, we still have a lot of friends that work for Quicksilver, that work for Billabong, that surf and that are true to it and pure and love it. So I don't want anyone to abandon the classics, right? You know,
Yeah.
like I'm not wearing any surf brand gear right now, but you know, when I'm at the events and when I'm, you know, doing gigs for some of the bigger brands, like I'm all in. I'm supportive of it.
Yeah.
And you know, like I think there's room for both. There's room for both.
Yeah,
And
the emerging one.
Yeah,
like
we
run from the.
we get something different from both.
Yeah.
You know, like the big brands, they might sponsor the US Open, right?
Yeah.
Which is fun for hundreds of thousands of people to go and check it out and hang out, right? And yeah, it sucks when you read about people getting laid off or, you know, like one company owns all the brands now. But at the same time, it's like there's still pockets of real core surf in all the big brands.
Okay.
So I think supporting both independent brands and big brands is important for the culture, for the surf industry, because you know, like when we give our money to surf industry brands, you know, hopefully we get something back.
Yeah, they will come back to us. Okay.
Yeah.
So full support for the community and trying to stick all together.
Yeah.
Because there still are a lot of great surfers and passionate people running this company.
For sure.
So
for sure.
that's the message. Chris, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, man.
Yes, brother.